Our verse for today is John chapter 4, verse 24, where Jesus says, "God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth." This verse is part of a conversation that Jesus has with a woman from Samaria. They meet at a well when Jesus asks her to give him a drink. She is surprised that Jesus even talks to her, since Jews have nothing to do with Samaritans, and this leads to a conversation which quickly goes deeper about the woman's personal life and her asking Jesus questions about where people are to worship God. And Jesus makes a couple important points. First of all, that worship is not so much about a place. That's very significant for us and for millions of other people who are not able to gather together at a physical place with hundreds of other people to worship. So Jesus says that God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth. Sometimes it's interesting to ask people, what do you picture when you picture God? I think sometimes people envision God as an old man with a long beard. But Jesus says God is spirit. God is not a person in the same way that I am or you are. God is spirit, and those who worship him are to worship God in spirit, which means at the deepest level of ourself, at the core of our being. Our spirit is that part that energizes us. And we also are to worship God in truth. And in John's Gospel, we'll hear later on in chapter 14, where Jesus says, "I am the way and the truth and the life." So we want to worship God in truth. We want to worship by following Christ and obeying his teaching and doing what he says to do. And we'll actually hear a little bit more about that in our verses of the day this week. But we also want to make sure we are worshiping God with spirit, with passion, with energy, and with enthusiasm. So, as we're in these days when we need to be responsible largely for our own worship, remember that you can worship God wherever you are, and Jesus also tells us that where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst of them. I encourage you to continue to worship God in spirit and in truth today and throughout the week.